Hello guys and welcome to a new video. This time something different, and to my fellow subscribers, sorry, this will not be a regular walkthrough, it will be an educational walkthrough because, hopefully welcome to some new viewers, it will be a walkthrough where I not only show how to solve a case but also show the needed formulas along the way. And the case this time is from the DACH starter tournament called Oachi in Amsterdam, and Oachi is this so-called Oachkatzel, which is a squirrel in Austrian German. And yeah, this time Oachi is traveling through Amsterdam, and in the Netherlands, biking and cycling is super important spread, and therefore we will handle this today. So without further ado, let's jump right into the case. So in level 1, the question is, how many kilometers did Oachi travel in total when you add up all 5 routes? So in this case, someone might do this here, plus this, plus this, plus this, plus this, which will lead to the result. No issue about that. But how about this not being only 5 distances, but 500? Then you will take a while, and therefore there are some formulas to handle this. And one formula is the so-called sum formula. It is basically a formula that is doing the same as you did with the plus signs. It will add up values. So basically throw in all the values either via a range or via simply typing them in and then a comma and the next value. And yeah, how this will look in reality, I will show you now. So we're here. And then we're simply typing sum, open the bracket, select the range, closing the bracket, and we're good. Then we can either track down the formula by clicking here or by copying and filling it in with entering it. So level 1 done. Now, what is the maximum cycling speed of Oachi on all 5 routes? So one might do the simple approach by looking, what is the maximum? 42. Here also 42. And here it's 40. And this will work as well also. But it's not the most efficient approach. And therefore I will show you the good approach. And we of course also have a formula for this. And this is the so-called max formula. And it is basically working like the sum formula. It is returning, instead of the sum, the highest value of an area or a list of numbers or anything. And yeah, you either give it a range with values or type in the numbers separately. And then it will return the maximum of those numbers. And here I'll show you this in the case. So we type in $max. And then select the numbers, close the bracket, track down the formula, and we're finished with this level. Quite easy, right? Now, on level 3. In level 3, we will do the distance calculation, the time calculation based on the distance and speed. And as you know, speed is distance divided by time, and if you don't have the time, then you can calculate the time by dividing the distance by the speed. And we will do this, so basically distance divided by speed, and then there's something wrong because you have to round to full hours. And some person might then go in here and type this then track this down and then type this then here manually, 37, 25, 42, 10, but this is inefficient. And of course we have a formula for that, the so-called round formula. And this is mixed up. With the round formula, you round the number to the number of digits. In this case, number of digits are decimal places. So you basically say round, give it the number, then the number of digits. In our case, it's 0, and then it will round this. And also, if you want to round to next 100 or next 1000, you can also round with minus and the digit before the decimal point. So how does this look? So equal sign round, then distance divided by speed, and we want to round to 0 decimal places, so to full numbers. And we can track this down, and we're finished. So level 4 is a little bit different, because on average, how many hours did Oachi travel on all 5 routes? Round your final answer to full hours. And therefore, we simply calculate first manually the time it will take Oachi on all 5 routes. This is a little bit annoying, but yeah. There are also some better approaches to do this, but for beginner, this is the right approach. Just simply type it out. And then we have here our stuff. And now we want to have the average. And how do we get the average? With a formula. In this case, we're really here at the average. And the average, so the arithmetic mean, is used the same as max and sum, simply by giving it a range of numbers or throw in the numbers or anything else, and it will then return the average of those numbers. And this is then basically, okay, we can first copy those calculations in here. So we then have here our calculations, and then say, okay, we want to round our final result. So you round the average, then throw in the average. Select those cells, close our first bracket, type in we want to round to 0 decimals, close the next bracket, and we can then simply track down our formula. Now we're getting to the interesting territory. Based on the table at the right, what is the speed of the given speed on the given terrain? In this case, on the city terrain, your average speed or your speed is 22. So basically, look up for city in here and return this. You can do this manually, no issue with that. But regularly, those tables are a bit larger than only 10 or 11 in this case. Different entries, and therefore we have a formula for this. And we're now getting into the lookups. And before we start with the lookups, so most of you know VLOOKUP, but VLOOKUP is not a good formula to use, and I will show you in an instance why. And therefore, there are better formulas I will show you today, like index and match combination, hopefully X match combination, or the new XLOOKUP, which is a formula introduced in 2019, and hopefully your Windows or Office subscription will cover that formula. I think all Office 365 subscriptions cover it, but yeah, don't use XLOOKUP if you can avoid it. And why is XLOOKUP not good? Because the search criterion must be in the first column. So you search in the first column and then return something in the later column. If it's switched up, you're screwed. You can only search vertically, because for horizontal lookup, you have to use HLOOKUP. Then it's super dangerous because the default setting is approximate match. You can also turn it to like exact match, but if you don't know about this is dangerous. Then you can't search for larger equal or smaller equal, and you have a hard-coded column number for the return column, which is also a bit dangerous, and therefore use a better function than XLOOKUP, which is then VLOOKUP, which is XLOOKUP. And for XLOOKUP, this is like only for completion. For the search criterion, not as important for you. And here, what is XLOOKUP doing? It is searching in a range and then is returning the element for the first match found in another similar sized range. So in this case, we're searching for this date here in this column and then returning, where's the first match? Here it is, returning from the same, in this case row, the next match, which is here Tuesday. And here, this is basically it. And here you don't have to go around with all the circumstances because the default setting is not approximate match. You can also use XLOOKUP horizontally, and also the search criterion does not have to be in the first column. So with VLOOKUP you can do here the same then, but if it would be switched, so weekday before date, then you would be screwed. With XLOOKUP, that is not an issue because you can select those ranges separately. So let's look at this in our case. So this is quite easily. We want to search for the terrain in our terrain table. And now you have to, with the dollar signs here adding, you have to fix this. You can also use F4 key to do this. And then for the return array, which is basically this, which is this range, also used F4 keys, and I now have the full absolute references. And here it is some other stuff, but here you can see exact match is our default setting. Yeah. And then we can track this down. Now, how many hours did Oachi travel? Travel speed is dependent on the terrain. Round your answer to full hours. So in this case, first we want to first get the travel speed based on the terrain. In this case, doing an XLOOKUP as we did already. This is then our travel speed. I can track this down, and then we basically use round distance divided by speed, rounded to the next hour. And we can then track this down super easily because we previously learned how to use XLOOKUP. Then here it's basically the same. How many hours did Oachi travel? The travel speed is dependent on the terrain. Every break will add 25 minutes to the travel time. Round your final answer to full hours. So XLOOKUP for the terrain in the table at the side. You can then check this down. Also always make, or if necessary, make the absolute references here. And then it's round distance divided by speed we've previously looked up for, and then plus number of breaks times 25 minutes. And now to get to hours, 60 minutes are in 1 hour, we divide by 60 and round to the next full hour. And then we can track this down and we're good to go. So here this is basically at 25 minutes if you are in hours, because 25 minutes is 0.41666666666 hours. Yeah, let's go to the bonus questions. Here, in which game in level 1 is Oachi traveling the largest distance, excluding the example? So in which game here is Oachi traveling the largest distance? You can basically take a look what is the maximum here. But now we can also combine two formulas, because we basically want to look up for the maximum. And we can then, as the lookup value, use here the max formula, which will then return the maximum. So maximum of this range here, we want to search. So this will then return only a single value, and we then search for the single value in here, which is, and then want to return the game number, which is 11. On average, how many hours, rounded to full hours, did Oachi spend traveling across all routes in level 4? So round average, and then here we see how many hours did he spend. And as you know, here on level 4 we have already done this here at the side, and then we basically select this area and round to full hours, and you see 18 hours in average. What is the fastest terrain in level 5? Here XLOOKUP for the maximum. Here this is level 5. Look up for the maximum in here, returning the terrain name. which is the village terrain. And now what is the slowest terrain? Here, so if it's something max, then it might also give a min function, and the min function is basically like the max function, only that instead of returning the maximum, it is returning the minimum. So XLOOKUP min, then go to level 5, search for the minimum in here, returning the terrain type, and the terrain is mud, where you cannot go forward with your bicycle. How many level 7 breaks can you make in a day? Round down to full breaks. So, and if you know rounding, we only round to the next number. Basically, maybe there's also something where we can round down to something. And yes, there is, of course, the round down function, which is basically rounding down numbers to the number of digits. And the number of digits is in this case decimal places. So here, if you want to round down here to 3 digits, it will return then here, instead of rounding, would return 3.142, but rounding down is returning 3.141. And let's see this, because you cannot make like partial breaks. We know that a break on level 7 is 25 minutes. So in this case, round down. How many minutes are in a day? 25 times 60. 24 times 60 divided by 25, and round to the full breaks, round down to full breaks, and we can do 57 breaks in one day. And yeah, now we have solved everything, and I hope you've learned a few formulas. I could also talk a bit more deeply about some of those formulas, especially about, for example, the arguments here on the XLOOKUP, but I think for a beginner case, it might be enough. But if you want to learn more about those formulas, I think I have a few videos on some of those formulas on my channel, especially a more deeper XLOOKUP deep dive. But yeah, anyways, I hope you learned something. Comment down below if you like. And yeah, thank you for your time. Bye.